This is the Two Marketeers podcast, where hosts and marketing experts Sean Patrick and Lindsay Waugh seek to uncover what makes brands so powerful in how they impact modern society and culture.
Two Marketeers. They've got a podcast. The Two Marketeers podcast.
Welcome back, fellow marketeers. In our last episode, Insight Famine Part 1, Lindsay and I left off with yours truly actually making an argument that AI is capable of generating creative without the need for humans. Let's see where I was going with this seemingly controversial remark as we continue with Part 2 of Insight Famine on the Two Marketeers podcast. It takes creative thinking to actually remove yourself and think about the context of what that data is telling you from a human experience, right? Like, I feel like the insight, what's so great about that, it is the truly human piece. Because arguably, if you bring in, or inarguably, let me be bold, if you look at what AI can do, okay? AI can do science and AI can do art, right? It can generate creative.
I think you're making a lot of people mad right now, but I'm here for it. Let's go down this path.
At a certain level, I can't deny the fact that if someone wants a brand design, that if they said, well, couldn't I just go to AI with enough information and they'd be able to generate something? Yes, I'm sorry.
Could.
Right? But if it needs to succeed with no human element to kind of bridge those two things, art and science, it's those two things that bring something called emotion into the mix.
Right.
Insights is emotion. Insights is bringing emotion to fact or fact to emotion.
Yeah. I think I like going back to what you said earlier around how people get in the room with creative people and they say, like, I'm not creative. But I'm going to share this with you. Like, as a strategist early coming up in my career, you're so vulnerable and you get in the room with these creative people. The first thing I would always say is, like, I'm not the creative one, but I'm here to share what I've learned, you know? And I just, if I were managing people more frequently today, I would say to them, okay, but imagine you were, what would you do? What would you do? Like, you know, you've done all this research. You're coming out of the gates hot, showing stats. All of it could be probably a little bit boring and trying to get to somewhere that's interesting. And then you're kind of handing it over to the creative people to be like, I'm not the creative one. So now you go and think about how this could resonate. Imagine if you said to those strategy people or account people or whomever, or the business leader, whomever, and said, like, say, pretend that you were responsible for a creative piece of it, a thought, like a bridge, an emotional piece of information, something interesting. What could you say to the creative team that would make them go, oh, Many times I've been in a room sharing research where creative people are like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. Like, unless they see some sort of insight or creativity or bridge, a lot of times I think they don't know what to do with the information. And then it starts them off in a scattered place. It's like a very unfocused moment in time that then kicks off all of that work to be a bit unfocused.
We need to stop trying to solve a problem strictly with creatives. We need to start understanding more so that, you know, everyone is creative, but it's funny. You said, we talk about how everyone starts with, well, I'm not creative. It makes me think of all those years of teaching where the format of one of the classes I taught was essentially like a creative thesis, right? It was a postgraduate certificate. And no matter how good they were, everybody starts with downplaying what they're about to show us. Okay, so every week, the students have 20 minutes to present what they've done, how they got there. It's an open conversation. It's the most important part because it teaches them and we guide them to say, your job in this particular, I know you hate it. Who doesn't hate presenting their work and having confidence behind it when you have virtually no experience in doing what it is you're about to present? Forget the presentation skills. But no matter who it is, aside from just some naturally super confident go-getters, which isn't your typical profile for a creative, to be quite frank, they will always start by downplaying what they're about to show you. And I say
I was
that.
going to say you just triggered university me, and I'm like, this sounds terrifying. Even as a 43-year-old person who's been working in
Superstar.
Advertising for 19 years, almost 20 years, that sounds terrifying.
Right? The body language, the words, the sort of like, there were times, and I learned that. It's like, wow, and it triggers it in all of us, because we have to accept the fact, and this is where compassion and empathy comes in, is to say, how do we help understand how we can do this better? And the idea is that, we say this so many times, nobody cares. And you're feeding them reasons to already not like what you're about to present, because that's the scenario you've prepared for, right?
Yeah, like, I'm going to protect myself. I'm protecting myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to lower expectations, and then I'm going to hit it. It's like, nope, you actually have to do the opposite. So it's interesting where it comes right down to when we start doing this. But the thing everybody has to work hard at is coming in with the confidence. Okay, I think you win. What was it you said at the start when I said,
"Fake it till you make it"?
Fake it till you make it. I was so ready to argue that.
Fake it till
I'm
you
like,
make it.
yes, that's the tactic you have to apply until you learn that confidence has to come from information, insight, and however it is each individual, creative or not, but we are all creative, comes to terms with that balance of art and science. The problem I see from the insights that work provides is there's this barrier. There's this barrier between you're either creative or you're not. And that's, that's been true a long time. And it creates this distance where now I look at the young people coming into the world and the world of business, especially marketing, and I see an opportunity to help them understand that they can do both. It really just depends on what they're willing to challenge in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think it made me think of, like, no matter how good the work was and no matter how hard someone worked, typically it was, you spent the first 5 minutes throwing away any chance of me liking what you're about to show me.
I thought you were going to say the first 5 years.
I'm saying for each presentation. So that does add up. But that's, and I think that's, I love that, because that's the root of the insight, is this insecurity and this fear of, like, imposter syndrome. I can't say I'm creative unless I have 10 years and 20 awards and all that stuff. And, some of the best ideas I've ever heard, and I've worked for a lot of years with a lot of people, have come from Lindsay, because of her approach of how she uses strategy to fuel her creativity. It's about doing it with honesty and respect.
It's very frustrating to me when we are asked to do like a creative strategy or a strategy, as an example, without real strategy, like without real data, without actual insight, without where someone's like, well, here's what we have, and we just need it to be quick in 5 pages. And I'm like, I'm literally making this up then. Like, I can't feel good about getting to a strategic place without having understood the context, gotten to some sort of aha moment where at the beginning of every project, you're like, I don't know if we're going to get to an aha moment here. And you always do. Like, if you do your process, if you do the things, if you do all of that, you always do. And then I can get to like a creative strategy or strategic, whatever it is, because I'm like, aha, I've unlocked something. Yeah. And that's like the most satisfying thing. And I think coming off of that, it would be a disservice of us if we didn't kind of talk about the barriers to getting to insight that they talked about in that report, because I think they're super critical to understand. Yeah. So they mentioned 3 key barriers to getting to insight, which is driving this insight famine. The first would be a lack of understanding of what makes a good quality insight. So I think we've kind of already talked about that. People kind of don't even know what an insight is, what it should be, what it should feel like, what it should look like. It's hard to recognize what makes an insight different than a data point or a proof point or a reason to believe it's different. So there's a lack of understanding.
It's like, yes, it's those emotional moments that fuel your creativity as the person looking at it, the strategist or the creative.
So there's that. And I think you're totally right about your advice is
that
great.
barrier. Yeah.
Yes. The second barrier they mention is not enough priority placed on insight development. So this one is the thorn in my side. So it's that you have people who are like, well, we've got all of this research, so go make the commercial. Like, I don't know, or like build our website, whatever it is. It's that people, possibly those two feed into each other. Actually, it could be that they don't understand what a good quality one is, so they don't prioritize it.
Yeah.
Right.
They all kind of blend, right? Yes.
And then the third is, they say, an insufficient time allocated for deep insight exploration. So 18% of brands would say that insufficient time is one of the biggest barriers. And that's such a tricky one because you can't shortcut, shortcut it. You can shortcut information gathering, I would say, especially with AI and things going on. It's tricky because you are kind of being funneled into certain paths of information, but you can truncate gathering of information sometimes effectively now. Yeah. But you can't truncate the thinking or the feeling or the analysis or the talking to people or the human point of view or the things that help you get to deep insight. I'm going to argue that you can't fast track, but you also can't predict. Sometimes it comes to, so like sometimes we're just looking at stuff and that's when you and I are having that, you're like, aha, like that's it. This is that moment. This is that nugget. We've come to something, and it can come quickly and sometimes it doesn't, but that time is such a critical element.
It's really just, it's all about balance, and the bane of your existence, which is the bane of mine, which is the thing I love doing the most, is the first thing to be skipped. The problem with that is that it puts more time on inefficient process. It puts more time on coming up with 15 ideas, of which the top 3 are voted on by people's taste or, pack mentality, as we said. But it all happens with the lack of information that actually guides what the right brilliant idea is.
Well, this is when your art and science are out of balance. It's art forward versus science forward, There's
no bridge.
Yeah, exactly. There's no bridge.
I think the thing that's missing, and it's just like you said, about being good at identifying good creative, the piece that is missing is that insight, that combination that bridges. It doesn't even just bridge, it combines art and science in the right way, that everyone's aligned and everyone is being their most productive. Everyone is being their most creative, because guess what? The side that is science, I would never say a scientist is not creative. Actually, the most brilliant scientists of all time that have shaped how we look at truth, like an Einstein, were the creative ones.
Right. So I'll say one more thing about time. So if we say, we understand you've got 2 weeks to get a strategy done before we get to creative, or maybe we have 3 days, I don't know. I think it's just setting the expectation around, let's all collectively know that there's going to be an impact on performance when we don't have the time to do the work. And it's okay in scenarios to just do what we have to do, as long as we all know that that's what's going to happen. I think that's a bit of the radical honesty and a bit of the realist approach to strategy. Because if you're going to go to every client and say, like, we need 3 months and we need focus groups and this and that, and if we don't get it, we can't do it. Good luck to you. Like, it's just not the reality of the real world. And sometimes you're going to get the time and sometimes you're not. So we have to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, I love that. I can, to wrap it up, I could bring it down to, there's a dearth of something, there's a lack of something, and that's realism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what risk is about, is doing it enough times to know at least how not to do it.
Right.
Because of reality. There's this level of realism. I think the industry has an opportunity, and thanks to work, of saying, we need to be real. We need to be honest, and we need to understand and define what insight truly is.
Mm-hmm. I would also say it also helps us realize the advantage of having senior people in the room when it comes to strategy, because
yes,
we're able to be more realist because we've been around the block. We've seen the situations and say, well, if we have this, we're going to get to here. But if we have this, we're going to get to here. If we have this, we're going to get to here. And we've done them all. What do we have to do here?
Yeah. And it's that idea that failure is learning, right? And learning is key to always gathering more insight.
Yeah.
Solving problems. Well, that was great, Lindsay.
Thanks, Sean. That was really great. I love this Insight Famine. We'll definitely share it all. Well, I don't love an Insight Famine. I'm going to be honest with you. That's not great. I take all that back. Anyway, we will share everything around the Insight Famine in the description of this episode. But thanks for bringing it forward. This is really interesting discussion.
Okay. You have a great week.
You too. Talk to you soon.
Marketeers. Bye.
Bye, Marketeers.
Thanks for listening to the Two Marketeers podcast. New episodes launch every 2 weeks.
Find the Two Marketeers podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you like to listen. And be sure to rate and subscribe.
Listen on our website, thetwomarketeers.ca, or you can ask Alexa to play the Two Marketeers podcast.
Want to keep in touch? Follow the Two Marketeers on LinkedIn or at Two Marketeers on TikTok. We've always got something to share.
This podcast is over.